Hey, so I know on this channel I typically do a lot of video essays on philosophy, psychology with different movies, anime, pop culture, whatnot. But today I want to try something a little bit different. I am going through an idea that I discussed in my Chapel Realm video. This is an idea that I've been thinking about for a little while. It is called Big Daddy. Silly name, nothing to do with Adam Sandler, but it is, at the risk of sounding pretentious, a philosophical idea that I've been considering for a little while, and I wanted to go through and kind of break it down and do almost like a little video essay lecture type thing. It's really a stream of consciousness, I guess, video. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys like it, then I'll continue with this. It'll definitely be broken up into parts. This idea, probably I could ramble for a good bit of time on it, so I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. This first segment, I am really just introducing the concept, elaborating a little bit more. If you want the gist of it, I would definitely recommend checking out the Chapel Realm video that I put out. But this video is going to go through some of the more foundational ideas of the concept. I will also be using my iPad, almost like a little chalkboard, make it a little bit more like a lecture. So if you see me jotting down, that's why. You'll be able to see the video somewhere over there. But yeah, so let's get started. I'm gonna record the screen on this guy. All right, so the concept is called Big Daddy. Again, like I said, nothing to do with Adam Sandler. But this is a philosophical idea that I've been grappling with for a little while now. Now, the core idea for this is that we progress through developmental stages, and we, as a culture and a society, are currently in a postmodern stage. Now, this started back, with the French postmodernists back in the 60s, and we've really continued that legacy consciously or unconsciously. I think most of the time it's fairly unconscious. Now, the postmodern stage is really demarcated by a lack of authenticity, a lack of legitimacy, and a lack of meaning. Now, the last one is the biggest problem for where we are as a people, as where we are as a culture. This lack of meaning has created a void. Now, in order to fill that void, we have individuals will have self-imposed authoritative structures, hence the title Big Daddy. This is almost like a father figure. You can think of it almost like a super ego that you impose upon yourself, if you want to think of it in Freudian terms. This is also similar to Lacanian thoughts, big other. Yeah, I'm interested in Lacan, but definitely not a Lacanian. So. If I got that wrong, definitely feel free to correct me. But yeah, so this is a self-imposed authoritative structure, largely unconscious, right? So very similar to, these concepts of like ideology that grasps us unconsciously. And I hope that this can offer something new and bring something new to the table. And if not, that's okay. Most ideas aren't original. This idea is not either. Mainly, it's probably a synthesis of a few different philosophers. Probably philosophers like Lacan, if you're into Eric Fromm, Ken Wilber, the likes of those. So I'll get started. So the first thing that we use for Big Daddy that I'm using is I want to take into consideration a developmental model. And for this, we are going to use Ken Wilber. Okay. My handwriting is that of a second grader's, so my apologies. So Ken Wilber a developmental theorist, and Kim Wilber's developmental theory goes in a few different stages. It starts at the archaic, moves down into the down or up, however you want to phrase that, into the magic / animistic. From that stage, we go into the mythic stage. From there, transition to the rational stage. From there, a pluralistic, and this is where we get the postmoderns. And then after that, Wilber takes us into the various integral stages. There is not just one, there are several, but that's not super important for us. We can just categorize them all as integral. Now, if you've read any of Wilber's work, Wilber goes through these in fine detail, and there's definitely a lot that I'm leaving out, but just for the video's sake, I am going to briefly go over this. If you're interested in Wilber's work, I definitely recommend his book, The Theory of Everything. That is a great primer. He has other books that definitely go more in depth, but that one is very short. It's super easy to read, not dense at all. So Wilber's developmental model, it's important to think of this in hierarchical terms, but not as an oppressive hierarchy. And what I mean by that is the bottom levels are not inferior to the top. In fact, no stage is really inferior to any stage, and it's best to think of these as growth hierarchies. So a growth hierarchy, in Wilber's own words, is a hierarchy that you can think of them as nested hierarchies. So, you might have, to give an example, we have cells, right? So cells make up tissue, which make up muscles, right? Now, I don't think that many people would say that, muscles are more important than the cells, right? We need all these stages, and they build upon each other in order to create the structure. So the cells are contained within the tissue, and the tissue needs these cells in order to function and grow, as the muscle needs the tissues in order to be a muscle, right? I am also not a physiologist, right? So if I'm getting something wrong, my apologies, but I think you get the point. So the idea is that within each of these stages, it transcends and includes the previous stage. So in this magic animistic stage, you are transcending and including the archaic stage, and then this goes down the line. So just to give you like a brief run through of the stages too, in case you're confused, the archaic stage is more of a survival stage. This is the stage that we all are born into. This stage of really our main focus and main impetus for anything in life is survival. Really, you can think of it, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The very foundational stage is that of the survival needs, right? So we have the archaic stage. We then move to the magic animistic stage, and this is, you can think of these as the more ancient religions, right? Religions and spiritual practices that related one to nature in a kind of causal way, right? So you perform a rain dance because you need it to rain. So this is the magic animistic stage. This is where like totems would be in place. We then move to the mythic stage. This is a more formal religious stage. So this is where the Abrahamic religions would come into play. This would be where the Eastern religions would start to flourish. So anything that has a really formal religious structure with set creed, norms, rituals, laws, anything like that. Afterwards, we move into the rational stage. And this is the stage of the Enlightenment. So we have thinkers like Kant, we have Locke, all of those thinkers. And this is really the stage of modernity. This is the stage of optimism. This is the stage of rushing forward for truth, rationality, and really this is, in my opinion, the stage where we have our peak. We have our peak of what we consider objectivity, and meaning is really flourishing in this stage, right? Meaning is flourishing in the mythic stage, of course, too. I think in the rational stage, they both kind of share the spotlight, but certainly in the rational stage, we see more objectivity. We then get to the pluralistic stage. This is the postmodern stage. This is the stage where things start to break down a bit, and even that growth hierarchy starts to break down a bit. And while there's tension between the mythic and the rational stage, when we think of it in our current day, we can see the tensions between the rational stage and the mythic stage. Oftentimes we see religion and science pitted against each other as this dichotomy juxtaposed. However, this was certainly not the case for a lot of the Enlightenment thinkers. We can take Newton, we can look at Kant, and we can look at a lot of those early figures that really paved the way for what we have today as far as our logical, scientific, rational minds. And they were very religious. So although contemporarily we might see this juxtaposition between rational and mythic, that was certainly not the case in the Enlightenment. However, you can start to see where tensions can arise. After that, we get the pluralistic stage. This really started, I think Nietzsche is a great example of this starting to crop up. And then we get the existentialists. And while they certainly were not postmoderns, they were getting very, very close to postmodernity. And then we do move into postmodernity with thinkers like Baudrillard, Foucault, Derrida, Lyotard. And after, and the issue with the postmodern stage is that this is the stage where the growth hierarchy sort of starts to fight against itself. So there is a real refusal from the pluralistic stage to want to include the previous stages, right? So we start to get a breakdown here. After the pluralistic stage, we get the integral stages, and this is where these stages are really able to mesh together again. Now, with Wilber's stages, like I said, he has the integral stage, and then he goes through, and there are various integral stages. I'm going to cross that out and call it the meta-modern stage. And meta-modernity is going to be the stage that I will argue is where society either consciously or unconsciously should head with Big Daddy in order to alleviate some of the issues that arise in the current day and how to deal with this whole issue of loss of meaning. But first, let's look and see why are these stages even here, right? Why do we develop this way? One, you could say, right, with the archaic stage, like I said, we're kind of born into the stage, and as we get older, we move through. If you look at it, you can look at this. If you like Piaget's thoughts, you can look at this as kind of just the development of the individual, and then this is on the mass scale. So as one physiologically gets older, one moves through these. And it's also important to keep in mind that the individual, right, can have a combination of these stages. Society can also have a combination, but I think that there are very clear demarcations of social structures, and there are clear epochs. Sometimes they can get a little blurry, but we can find events in history that really demarcate where we are. But individuals, individuals are products of their social constraints, not only, but very much so. And that's why we have tendencies towards certain developmental stages when we're born into a culture that really embodies that stage. But it's not the case, right, that we just have an individual and it's just the mythic stage, right? There can certainly be behaviors, psychological predispositions, psychological tendencies towards mythic and rational and pluralistic, all within the same individual, right? Now, like I said, so Piaget would probably say something like age is going to move you through some of these stages. But what I want to look at is probably what I think is a more compelling reason to think that we move through these. And I guess when I say compelling, I don't mean a compelling reason, but what I mean to say is really what I think is probably a greater impetus for moving through these stages as a society and even on an individual level. And that is anxiety. So anxiety is the base condition for all of humanity, and really every living thing. But in humans, it is a unique situation. So the way that I want to look at anxiety is a mix of stimulation. Oops, let me try over here. And uncertainty. Uncertain. I don't know if I spelled that right. All right. That's why you don't use autocorrect for everything. Anyway, so we have stimulation, uncertainty. And this is going to be a very general anxiety. Of course, there are specific neurotic tendencies, certain individuals that are more predisposed to neuroticism, so they will be more sensitive to different anxieties. But this is going to be an overarching, broad definition of anxiety, and one that'll let us kind of get the gist of what's going on here. So when I say stimulation and uncertainty, I want you to imagine that you are in the woods and you hear a bush shake, right? This is a very classical example, and it demonstrates that when the bush moves, you're going to, feel a rush of anxiety and adrenaline over you. And this is the impetus for action. So the uncertainty, of course, is I don't know what's in the bush. The stimulation is the fact that the bush is moving. So this happens on a grand scale, and it's chronic, right? So this is stretched throughout time and space. Anxiety, and this is because of freedom, right? And both anxiety and freedom really move as we move up this developmental chain. We are trying to reduce anxiety and increase freedom. Okay, so from the archaic stage, the stage of survival to the magic animistic stage, from the mythic to the rational, really what we are trying to do is increase our freedom. And what happens when we get to the pluralistic stage is that we realize, oh no, we did. But that's not good. That's sad that we have so much freedom. Why is that sad? Freedom's so good. I've talked about this before in another video, but if we look at thinkers like Erich Fromm, Sartre, or even more contemporary thinkers like Slavoj Žižek, they all discuss freedom and the constraints that freedom paradoxically imposes upon oneself and the sense of anxiety. Now, there is freedom to and freedom from. So two different types of freedom. We have freedom, right? If you live in the United States, ostensibly we have freedom to say whatever we would like to say, freedom to vote, freedom to practice different religions. However, when we look at freedom from, we also have freedom from instincts. We have freedom from nature. We have freedom from guidance. And it's really this freedom from guidance that is going to cause all of that uncertainty to pop up. Now, like I said, stimulation is, in the example that I gave earlier, the stimulation is from the bush moving, but on a very broad level, and just go with me with this, stimulation is life itself, right? So this need to act in a world that is dynamic and fluid is a world of constant stimulation. And in this world, we have freed ourselves from nature as we moved down from the archaic to the rational, because we've moved from a sense of, let's see, where do I want to do this? So as we move down, we go from subjectivity to objectivity. So the whole goal of going from the archaic to the rational is to stop oneself from being a subject. So it is to become an object. And what I mean by that is what one aims to do as they move throughout this is to remove themselves from nature into a space where one can dominate nature, be outside of nature, and really, I think a great example is in the Christian religion, where man is made in the image of God, and God is a being that is outside of nature necessarily, right? If God is the creator of nature, God must be outside of nature, a timeless, spaceless entity that is able to have a bird's eye view. And then this really culminated in the rational stage with objectivity as the goal. And that is what the scientific enterprise is all about, being completely objective, right? So the scientific enterprise is about being able to remove oneself from nature, the environment, from one's biases, from oneself. You're stripping away subjectivity in order to become an object, in order to observe oneself. And so we have moved from subjectivity to objectivity. Now, when you do that, we are stripping ourselves away from nature, and this is increasing uncertainty. I feel like I'm spelling that wrong. Anyway, so this is increasing uncertainty as you move from subjectivity to objectivity. And this is because once stripped away from nature, this is an argument from Erich Fromm, but once stripped away from subjectivity and nature, one loses, right, the instinctual self, this, the part of nature that guides oneself, the part of nature that gives one's life purpose and meaning. So imagine you could be really a lion, right? Any animal that you would like to be. If you want to be a dog or a cat, that's fine. So imagine you're a lion. Instincts are going to guide you as to what you are supposed to do, right? So the lion has purpose by virtue of being a lion, by virtue of being aligned with nature, right? So humans want to strip themselves of nature. Nature is bad. So nature, we're going to cross that out. We don't want that. All right. At least humans thought that they did not. So as we move through this the developmental stages, we are reducing anxiety by increasing freedom, moving from the subject to the object to eliminate nature. Nature is scary, and we want to control nature. But we run into the problem of freedom, okay? And then once you realize what all freedom entails, that increases uncertainty, and that causes anxiety, okay? So the impetus for all of this is the reduction of anxiety, but paradoxically, what it does is it increases anxiety until we get to the culmination of all of that in the pluralistic, the postmodern stage. Now, the postmodern stage is one in which it's really this chaotic stage where we are going to deconstruct not only the objective, but really the subjective too. So the postmodern stage, what we thought we knew as ourselves, so we right, you might see ads today that say just be yourself, the most beautiful thing you can be is you. If we look at that from a postmodern lens, what does that even mean, to be me? So what is the I that I am abstracting and conceptualizing as myself? What is this subject? When we get to the pluralistic stage, we have delegitimized science. And when we delegitimize science, it has really destabilized this sense of objectivity. But we can't just go back to subjectivity because we've also destabilized subjectivity. If we want to... So look at thinkers like Lyotard, right? And that is where we are going to see a thinker who makes the case for the delegitimizing of science, like I said. And then if we look at thinkers like, you can look at Lacan, right? Lacan is a structuralist, so I wouldn't say he's a postmodernist. But I think that is definitely a taste of the destabilizing power of kind of once we're moving past the rational, right? You can look at Freud too. So this is destabilizing the ego, that subject, but pushing past that, even moving beyond that, right? When we look at thinkers like Baudrillard, what you are is not real in a sense, and what you create of yourself is probably more akin to a simulacrum, because we are in a hyper-real space. A great example of this, right? When you're looking at what should you be, what's a good example of a man? What's a good example of a woman? What does love look like? What do I want from life? A lot of these things we get from movies. You might look at one of my favorite movies is 500 Days of Summer, and you say, that's what a relationship should look like. That's what it shouldn't. We are using the simulation, the movie, in order to determine what's real. So the movie, which is fake, is realer than real. This is the hyper-real. So not to get into a lecture of Baudrillard or any of the postmodernists, but the point that I want to make is that when we get to the postmodernists, we have destabilized all this hard work that we have been trying to, all the hard work that we've put into trying to strip ourselves of subjectivity to move towards objectivity, to alleviate anxiety, but what we found is just more and more and more anxiety. We don't have objectivity anymore. We don't have subjectivity anymore. We don't have meaning anymore. So you lose authenticity and you lose meaning and you lose any grounding that you once had once you get to this pluralistic stage. Now, the pluralistic stage, like I said, it really breaks from the previous stages, and this it creates an issue, and when you can't integrate these stages, I think that's really where the this vacuum comes from. This vacuum of not being able to even like ironically ground oneself in anything. So at the pluralistic stage, right, this is a stage of irony. This is a stage of destabilization and removing all grounding. So once we get to the stage, which this is the stage that contemporary society is in, from my perspective, I think a really, really beautiful example of this, and I'm cautious to use the word beautiful, but a really great example of this is the current presidency in the United States. This, Slavoj Žižek said this, and I made a video about this, but Donald Trump really is the postmodern president. I know we had Ronald Reagan before, right? A television star that made his way into politics. We had Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? And these are flurries of the postmodern. But, this presidency is such a clear example to me of the cultural landscape that we find ourselves in, of postmodernity and the consequences of postmodernity. So Donald Trump is not a postmodernist, but he is a symptom of this postmodern landscape that we find ourselves in. So now we find ourselves in this situation, and in the Chapel Rome video, the concept that I was elaborating upon is that once you reach this stage, as an individual, as a society, as a culture, there's got to be something that grounds oneself, and we have self-imposed authoritative structures that you place upon yourself, and this is the concept of Big Daddy, right? So this is really the Big Daddy is what happens when you get to the postmodern stage and you have self-imposed authoritative structures. So in the Chapel Rome video, I laid out a case for this concept of fate, destiny, where one belongs. A purpose-driven sense of sense of need with the song Pink Pony Club. But a really great example is one. I haven't checked out the numbers on this, but I'm gonna take it at face value. There is a mass influx of younger individuals heading into the Christian church and into different religions. But even outside of formal religion, we can see how there is definitely an influx of individuals claiming spirituality. Something as common as astrology, psychics, tarot, all of that So that is a great example of Big Daddy, where one places self-imposed authoritative structures over one's life in order to ground oneself to alleviate this really debilitating anxiety that one feels in the postmodern landscape. Astrology is such a great example for me to use. I feel like it really makes it clear-cut, and when an individual accepts the the premise of astrology, they can have a guiding force that gives one's life some sense of meaning, purpose, drive, direction for life that they were missing out on. And this can soothe and alleviate that anxiety that one feels. Now, let's see. Well, looks like I've been going for about 30 minutes, so I think I'm going to cut this video short. I hope that you got to see what I mean by Big Daddy in this, but let me just write it right here. So Big Daddy. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you very much. Definitely leave a comment and let me know what you think. Is this okay? Was I all over the place? You know, definitely let me know. Hopefully I wasn't all over the place. I tried to keep it somewhat systematic. This is definitely off the top of my head, you know, not doing anything from a script. So things do tend to kind of float around. But you know, if this was something that you liked, please leave a comment below. Definitely a like would be great on the video, but you know, that whole spiel of like, subscribe, whatever. I really just want to know if you guys want me to continue this, because I would love to continue this, but you know, only if people want it. So Big Daddy, like I said, is self-imposed authoritative structures. I feel like I can't spell right now. Authoritative structures. And this is directly this is a direct consequence of the pluralistic postmodern stage. So like I said, let me know what you guys thought of the video. This is part 1. I would love to do more of this for you, so let me know. All right.